Welcome to the series where we pull back the curtain on California's most notorious capital cases. In this episode, The Dating Game Killer, the case of Rodney James Alcala, we trace the life of a man whose charm masked the soul of a predator. From a troubled childhood to a string of gruesome murders, this is the story of a serial killer who manipulated his way onto national television, all while leaving a trail of death behind him. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive into California's darkest crimes. This is Southern California in the 1970s, a place of sunshine, surf, and serial killers. Among the most infamous, Rodney James Alcala, a man whose photogenic face and smooth demeanor concealed a violent obsession with control, manipulation, and death. Before the world knew him as the dating game killer, Rodney Alcala was simply a troubled boy. Born August 23, 1943, in San Antonio, Texas, to a Mexican-American family, his childhood was marked by abandonment. When Rodney was just 8 years old, his father walked out on the family, leaving his mother to raise 4 children alone. Soon after, they relocated to Los Angeles, where Alcala's outward charm began to emerge, but so did something darker. Alcala's early life was shaped by instability. Teachers described him as bright but odd, socially awkward, and prone to inappropriate comments. By high school, he was intelligent and articulate, showing an early gift for manipulation. He enlisted in the U.S. Army at age 17, but after a nervous breakdown and going AWOL, he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder and discharged on medical grounds. It was the beginning of a long descent into predation. In 1968, Alcala committed his first known crime. He lured 8-year-old Tali Shapiro into his Hollywood apartment under the pretense of giving her a ride to school. Fortunately, a witness saw the abduction and called police. Officers arrived just in time to save the girl's life, but Alcala escaped out the back door. He fled to New York, enrolling in film school at NYU under an alias, John Berger. There, he studied under none other than Roman Polanski, blending in with bohemian artists while secretly compiling a collection of sexually explicit photographs of young women and children. He took many of these photos after coercing or deceiving his victims, often under the guise of being a professional photographer. By 1971, he was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list and eventually caught after a pair of teenage girls recognized him from a poster at a post office. He was extradited to California and sentenced to prison, but only served 34 months for child molestation. Paroled in 1974, he wasted no time before killing again. The victims began to pile up. Cornelia Crilly, a flight attendant in New York City, was found raped and strangled with her own stockings in 1971. It would take decades to link Alcala to her death. Jill Barkham, 18, was found in 1977, raped and strangled. Her body was discovered posed in the Hollywood Hills, left as a grotesque display. Georgia Wickstead, 27, was murdered in her Malibu apartment, brutally beaten with a blunt object, and then strangled. Charlotte Lamb, 31, was assaulted and murdered in the laundry room of her apartment building. She was found partially nude, her body posed in a theatrical and degrading way. Jill Paronto, 21, was found dead in her Burbank apartment, murdered after Alcala broke in through a window. Her friends described her as cautious, someone who wouldn't open the door for a stranger. The attack was calculated. Alcala's signature was disturbing. He would often beat his victims into unconsciousness, then wait for them to regain consciousness before continuing the assault, repeating the cycle to prolong their suffering. In many cases he posed their bodies afterward, sometimes using objects from the victims' homes. The level of sadism was staggering. Some victims had bite marks. Others were found with objects inserted post-mortem. The posing of bodies was theatrical, meant to shock whoever found them. In one case, he left a victim sprawled across a couch with fruit placed on her chest, almost as if mocking a still-life painting. He sometimes bound his victims, not only with rope or tape, but with items from their own homes, like belts or electrical cords. Evidence later showed that he would use his camera to photograph them both before and after death. Many were found posed with expressions frozen in fear. In 1978, Alcala appeared on national television as a contestant on the dating game. He won the contest. The Bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw, later refused to go out with him, saying he gave off creepy vibes. She had no idea she had narrowly escaped a serial killer. He kept a secret stash of photographs, hundreds of women and children, many of whom still remain unidentified to this day. Law enforcement believed the collection could link him to dozens more murders. His final known victim, 12-year-old Robin Samsoe, was abducted from Huntington Beach in 1979 on her way to a ballet class. She was last seen riding her bike. Her remains were found 12 days later, ravaged by wildlife in the Sierra Madre foothills. This time, Alcala was quickly identified and arrested. A receipt for a storage locker led police to a trove of evidence: jewelry from victims, photographs, keepsakes, and even a pair of earrings that once belonged to Robin. He was tried, convicted, and sentenced to death, not once, but 3 separate times. Appeals overturned each verdict until 2010, when forensic evidence tied him to 4 more murders in Los Angeles. The evidence was overwhelming. DNA, dental records, and recovered trophies all pointed to Alcala. He acted as his own attorney, even questioning witnesses on the stand in a bizarre theatrical display. During the 2010 trial, he played Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant for the jury and delivered a chilling cross-examination of the mother of Robin Samsoe, asking, "Do you know how your daughter died?" The jury took just 2 days to find him guilty on 5 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death and incarcerated at San Quentin State Prison, inmate C07359. His time on death row was marked by isolation and notoriety. He spent most of his days in a 6-by-9-foot cell surrounded by concrete and steel. For years he filed appeals and continued to deny the extent of his crimes. Inmates described him as quiet but deeply unsettling. Guards noted that he rarely spoke unless necessary, and when he did, his voice was eerily calm. He gained a reputation as one of the most intelligent inmates on death row, reading legal texts, filing motions, and obsessively trying to control his public narrative. But there were no more games to play. With each year, his influence faded. Rodney Alcala died of natural causes in 2021 at the age of 77, having spent over a decade on death row. This is the story of Rodney James Alcala, a man whose intellect, charm, and evil combined to form one of the most terrifying profiles in American criminal history. If this story haunted you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to know how far a predator can go when hidden in plain sight.